Each year, it is our privilege to recognize one of our colleagues for exceptional contributions to international journalism. Past recipients of the OPC President's Award have included Washington Post publisher Katharine Graham, New York Times editor Bill Keller, South Africa's courageous editor Donald Woods, the AP's Kathy Gannon, Christiane Amanpour of CNN, and last year, David Remnick of The New Yorker. Tonight, it is our pleasure to recognize photojournalist Lynsey Addario for her dedication to telling stories that need to be told, stories of conflict, resilience, injustice, and hope, and doing so with courage, artistry, and humanity. She has documented some of the most pressing global issues of our time, from the battlefields of Afghanistan to the refugee crisis in the Middle East, to the struggles and triumphs of women in the most challenging corners of the world. She has survived kidnappings, dodged bullets, and navigated war zones, all while maintaining an unshakable commitment to showing the world what it needs to see. Her images don't just capture moments, they capture truth, emotion, and the raw, unfiltered reality of life in ways words often cannot. I'd like to invite OPC Vice President Sandra Stevenson, an award-winning visual journalist and who has worked with Lynsey off and on for the last 25 years or so, to make the official presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for giving me the chance to speak about Lynsey and what she means to me and what she means to the industry. I've always believed it's important to understand where people come from, to truly appreciate how they see the world, especially a visual storyteller such as Lynsey. So here we go, Lynsey. Lynsey Addario, one of 4 daughters born to hairdressers Camille and Philip Addario from Westport, Connecticut. Her mother, the daughter of first-generation immigrants, also grew up in Connecticut. And for those who are not aware, there is a podcast out there that features the lives of the Addario girls. You hear the compassion, the free spirit, and the inclusivity that shaped Lynsey's upbringing. And you start to see how all of that shapes her work today. As Scott mentioned, my path has crossed with Lynsey off and on. Actually, it's almost 30 years, Lynsey, just in case, I'm not counting. But they've crossed paths starting from AP, then briefly at Corbis, and finally during my time at the New York Times. Even though I'm no longer part of the Times family, I've continued to follow her work and even picked up a story from her post-NYT. As a photo editor, you're not just juggling platforms, print, digital, on-platform, off-platform. You're juggling people, personalities, timelines, deadlines. And the biggest challenge, finding the right photographer for the story. Working with Lynsey made that so easy. She's one of those rare people who just gets it. The stakes, the nuance, the people, the land, no matter where she is in the world. Her eye shows that she is no stranger in a strange land. Authenticity. She's the kind of person who, as my mother would say, can make lemonade out of lemons. In 2019, she was paired with a Times reporter to cover women in their final stage of training to become Marines at Parris Island in South Carolina. When the reporter was pulled from the assignment, and I actually can't remember why or really what happened, Lynsey didn't miss a beat. She saw the value in the story and the rare opportunity it presented. She covered it, she wrote it, and it was amazing. The same time that year, Lynsey was zeroing in on what was happening at the US border, specifically to pregnant migrant women. She had sources in the Rio Grande region feeding her what was going down. I remember one of my daily 7 a.m. calls with my parents, as they were always glued to MSNBC 24/7. My mother said, "We must tell those women's stories as they deserve to be heard." Lynsey and I pushed gently but persistently to get the national reporter on board. And over the course of 2019 and 2020, she walked away with not one but multiple stories, powerful pieces. Some she wrote, and some, of course, she worked with the reporter. I know these are just small moments in a really vast and decorated career. And I don't need to remind all of you in the room, as Scott has, of all the awards, 2 kidnappings, conflict zones, near bombings. She's authored 2 books. Any of these accomplishments would merit the President's Award. But what stands out to me the most is that she's a wife, she's a sister, she's a daughter, she's Noni's granddaughter, and most importantly, the mother of 2 boys. And yet here she is, fearless, compassionate, selfless. She understands what it means to be a journalist and the challenges that come with the profession if you want to do it right. She values life above all else, and I believe that's what drives her. That's what pushes her to cover the stories others might overlook, the ones people say won't resonate with our audience. But she knows each photograph from her work chronicling the meat packing district in the 90s, to women firefighters in California, to women protecting the Amazon, and I could go on and on and on. But before she comes up to accept her award, I really would like to read a quote from Megan Lorem, Director of Photography at the New York Times and my former boss. Lynsey is not simply a brave correspondent, not merely a gifted documentarian, a visual historian, though she embodies all of these things. She is also a beacon of mission-driven ethical journalism, constantly reinforcing through her work what a true public service visual journalism is. We all owe her a debt of gratitude for her fearless commitment to the work of bearing witness, of giving voice to the vulnerable, and revealing the world in its complexity. It's truly my honor to present the award to Lynsey.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That was really beautiful. Okay, my goal is to get through this without crying because for some reason I always cry when I speak, so we'll just say it's PTSD. I'd like to start out by thanking the members of the board for honoring me with the prestigious President's Award. To the President of the OPC, Scott Kraft, Executive Director Patricia Krantz, who was always on hand to answer many questions, and the New York Times, among many other publications, for offering me the opportunity to continue going on assignment for more than 2 decades. Standing in this room in front of so many of you old friends, foreign correspondents, photographers, and editors I have long known and admired is incredibly intimidating. Lydia Polgreen, who in full disclosure is here as one of my guests tonight, and I used to run around the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2006, arguing over just how early I could beg her to go out at dawn in the morning to start working to get morning light, 5 a.m. Moises Saman, the recipient of this year's Danish Siddiqui Award for his brilliant photo essay, has been a friend and colleague since I met him 25 years ago, both of us in our 20s and starting our careers in New York City at the AP and Newsday, covering perp walks, the Abner Louima trial, Mayor Giuliani at City Hall. Nick Kristof, tonight's keynote speaker, has for years motivated the public to action with his columns and who is as passionate about journalism today as ever. You have all inspired me to continue to push me to be a better photographer and journalist with your decades-long commitment to documenting the injustices of our world today. There are those of you I know and with whom I've had the great pleasure to work, and those of you I don't know, but for whom I have immense admiration from afar. Some of you are here this evening being recognized for your incredible work. Tonight, I'd like to dedicate this award to all of you, to local journalists, translators, drivers, producers covering conflicts, human rights abuses, and humanitarian crises at home, in your own countries, outside your own front doors, at great physical peril and emotional toll, from Gaza to Ukraine and in countries around the world. I would like to pay tribute to you, to your sacrifice, bravery, determination, and commitment. You have shown the world what so many in positions of power do not want us to see. You are working while displaced from your homes, in dire conditions, under bombardment, and under threat of being drafted while already performing the service of journalism in your respective countries. You are covering the funerals of your loved ones and colleagues. You are so used to the sounds of sirens, drones, and explosions, you likely can't fathom what 8 hours of sleep straight is, or peace, anymore. I know this because I've spent my career working alongside local journalists and translators like you, Andriy Dubček and Lyubov Sholudiko, I can't pronounce her name, sorry, in Ukraine, Ursaida Amami in Afghanistan, and Khalid and Wahid in Iraq. Together, we have endured the fear of being kidnapped outside of Fallujah, the tears from watching cancer slowly ravage the body of a 6-year-old in Ukraine, or women set themselves on fire in Afghanistan. On the morning of March 6, 2022, Andriy Dubček and I narrowly survived a mortar attack in Ukraine, which killed a mother and her 2 children and a church volunteer, roughly 50 feet away from us. I had somehow convinced myself, between the time of the attack, diving for cover, photographing their lifeless bodies, and fleeing the scene under incoming rounds, that somehow the attack wasn't really that close. It wasn't until I got back to the hotel that CNN's Clarissa Ward, who's also a good friend, messaged to see if I was okay. I couldn't understand how she knew that I had just survived an attack. When she came to meet me in the hotel lobby, she showed me a video of Andriy's that he had posted on Facebook. He had been rolling the entire time we were under fire. While I was diving for cover, he continued rolling. It was Andriy's video that ran in tandem with my photographs, and together with my photos provided proof that civilians were deliberately targeted in Ukraine. His video added weight to my photographs, and his presence and partnership in the field helped give me the courage to stay when those first mortar rounds came in. But throughout my career, I've had the great luxury of leaving a war when I needed a break, except of course when I was kidnapped. And I cannot fathom how any of you continue to soldier on and report, write, and photograph while compartmentalizing all of the trauma and incessant fear for the futures of yourselves and your loved ones. I have the greatest admiration for you all and dedicate this award to you. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, as of April 15th, we have heard at least 175 journalists and media workers were among the at least tens of thousands of people killed in Gaza, the West Bank, Israel, and Lebanon, making it the deadliest period for journalists. Others put that number well over 200. Most of these journalists have been killed in Gaza and with impunity. In theory, journalists are civilians and should be protected by international law. And deliberately targeting civilians constitutes a war crime. But what does it mean when we live in a country that no longer respects international law and is not a signatory to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and questions the validity of truth? I guess the work of journalists becomes only more important. We live in an age where facts and reality are disputed, where the act of documenting reality has become political. We must fight more than ever to continue to do our jobs, and do them well, and with integrity and unwavering commitment, so that facts can no longer be disputed. Thank you.